Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
beg you to speak into the microphone, because I'm very deaf. I'd like to hear what you say.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Jasoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana Jasoda Nandana Jamunatira Bhanachari Jamunatira Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Jasoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana Jasoda Nandana Jasoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana Jasoda Nandana Jamunatira Vanachari Jamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Jaya Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Shutarashita Shrimad His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Grantra Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Adirbhava Transcendental Appearance Day of Advaita Charya Prabhu Ki Jai Go Premanandi Hribo O Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya O Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya O Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 10 Chapter 3, text number 29. Janmate mayaso papo. Janmate mayaso papo. Ma vidyan madhusudhana. Samudvije bhavadheto. Kansadaham adhiradhi. Janmate maya sao papo. Ma vidyan madhusudhana. Samudvije bhavadheto. Kansadaham adhiradhi. Janmate maya so papo. Ma vidya madhusudhana. Samudvije bhavadheto. Kansadaham adhiradhi. Mothers. Janmate maya so papo. Ma vidyan madhusudhana. Samudvije bhavadheto. Kansadaham adhiradhi. Word to word meaning Janma, the birth. Te, of your lordship. Mai, in my womb. Asau, that Kanksa. Papa, extremely sinful. Ma vidyat, may be unable to understand. Madhusudana, Amadhusudana. Samudvije, I am full of anxiety. Bhavadheto, because of your appearance. Kangsat, because of Kangsa, with whom I have had such bad experience. Aham, I, adhiradhi, have become more and more anxious. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation: O Madhusudana, because of your appearance, I am becoming more and more anxious in fear of Kanksa. Therefore, please arrange for that sinful Kanksa to be unable to understand that you have taken birth from my womb. Purport: Devaki addressed the Supreme Personality of Godhead as Madhusudana. She was aware that the Lord had killed many demons like Madhu, who were hundreds and thousands of times more powerful than Kanksa. Yet, because of affection for the transcendental child, she believed that Kanksa could kill him. Instead of thinking of the unlimited power of the Lord, she thought of the Lord with affection, and therefore she requested the transcendental child to disappear. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Om Agyantamirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadhati Swapadantikam Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubirevacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Janma dasa yaton vayadi tarata sharte shrabhigya swarad. Tene brahmaridaya radikavaye muyanti yasuraya. Tejo varimridham yata vinimayo yatra trisargo mrisha. Dhamna svena sada narasta kuhakam. Satyam param dhimahi. Narayanam namaskrityam naram chaiva narottamam. Devim sarasvati vyasam tato jayam udhirayat. Nashta prayesha badreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya. Bhagavatu tamashloke bhakti bhavati naishtiki. Hare Krishna, good morning. So this is 10th Canto, Chapter 3. These are the prayers of Vasudeva and Devaki to Krishna. He has just made his appearance. So in the previous verses to this particular verse, Devaki has glorified the Supreme Personality of Godhead as God himself. And in this particular prayer, she is expressing fear for his life. So how is this possible? She's just glorified many beautiful verses have come. She's expressed how in the previous verses, she has expressed how he is time himself. And Krishna in Bhagavad Gita says, of subduers I am time, because no one can challenge time. And she has said that time is just a movement of the body of Krishna. So she has recognized Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Of subduers I am time. She has just said this 2 verses before. And in this verse she is expressing fear for his life and fear of Kamsa. So how is this possible? She says here, Janmate maya so papo ma vidya Madhusudana. O Madhusudana, make it possible that the extremely sinful Kamsa, aso papo, ma vidyan, will not be able to understand that you have just taken birth from my womb. So she is referred to Krishna here as Madhusudana, which means the killer of demons. And Prabhupada is writing here that these demons were thousands of times more powerful than Kamsa. Not just a little bit stronger, but thousands of times more powerful. And she is referring to him as such, Madhusudana, one who is the killer of so many demons, who are thousands of times more powerful than Kamsa. But here she is saying, Aso papo ma vidyan, make it possible that the extremely sinful Kamsa should not be able to understand that you have taken birth from my womb. So why are you saying like this? You're calling me Madhusudana. So why are you anxious? So she says, Samudvijay bhavad hetu, I am in extreme anxiety that you have taken birth from my womb. Bhavad hetu. Why? Kangsaraham adhiradi, I am becoming more and more I have become more and more anxious because of Kamsa, with whom I've had very bad experience. So Prabhupada is writing here in the purport that this is only possible when there's the experience of prema, Krishna prema, or transcendental love, which creates a divine ignorance, you can say. There's such a thing as a divine ignorance. There's a regular ignorance from which we suffer. Bhayam dutiya abhiniveshata shari shara petasha viparyayo ashmitihi tamaya yato buddha abhajatam. This verse is coming. When one turns away from Krishna, ishara petasha, when one turns away from the Lord, then the first thing that happens is ashmriti. The word ashmriti means you forget. Who do you forget? Supreme Personality of Godhead? No, you forget your own self. Because turning away from God is like turning away from the sun. When you turn your back on the sun, what do you see? You see shadow, isn't it? So if you turn away from God, it is like turning away from your own self also. Because the jiva is part and parcel of Krishna. Amaya jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana. The jiva is part and parcel of the Lord. So if you turn away from the Lord, you turn away from your own self also. Because the Lord is ultimately, He is called as Atma. Mostly we think of the word Atman as primarily denoting the jiva. But the word Atma primarily denotes the Paramatma. The primary meaning of the word Atman is the Paramatma. And then jiva is an integral conscious part of that Paramatma. Mamai vangsho jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana. So if you turn away from God, you turn away from your own self. This is the meaning of asmriti, forgetfulness. You forget yourself. This is called as ignorance. So the root of ignorance, we normally say the root of all of our problems is ignorance, isn't it? But the root of ignorance is itself turning away from God. That is Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy, at least. Ishara Petasha. Asmriti. So now you don't know who you are, so what happens after that? Viparyayo. Viparyayo means you identify with the opposite, something that you're not. Because you don't know who you are, so that leaves you open to suggestion. Or just like sometimes people may suffer the amnesia, and someone may suggest, no, you are this such and such person. They say, okay, because they don't know who they are themselves. So this is called viparya, which means you identify as just the opposite. I often like to give an example in the Western world. You see a lot of guys that are into the video games. So when you play the video games, you forget your own self. I personally had experience when I was 7. My mom bought me Sega Genesis. Now some of you may be, well, most of us are old enough to know what is Sega Genesis. So Sega Genesis was like maybe the second video game system to come out. I think the first one was Nintendo, and the second one was Sega Genesis. So my mom had bought Sega Genesis, and we only had it for 1 week, my brother and I. And when we would play, we would be so absorbed in this Sega, the characters of the game. Sonic the Hedgehog, that was one of our games, and I think we had the X-Men game also. We had 2. And that we forget our own selves. We would forget to eat. We would want to play until midnight. As soon as we would come home from school, we would throw our bags at the door and just immediately begin playing for hours and hours. So you forget your own self and you become absorbed in something that you're not. And you experience life vicariously and not directly. Isn't it? You experience it vicariously. Just like when I was playing Sonic the Hedgehog, when I would lose, I would be deeply pained. And if I, got 100 coins on the first level and I got like superpowers, then I would be extremely exalted. But what is the meaning of all this? It is enjoyment and suffering vicariously, not directly. But that is only possible when there is a state of self-forgetfulness. So this is called viparyayo. When you turn away from God, then you forget yourself, then viparyayo. Then you identify with your video game avatar, or your body and mind. And from there, dvitiya abhiniveshata. Dvitiya abhiniveshata means that you become absorbed in that which is not essential. And what is not essential? Everything pertaining to your body and mind. Although we make a very big deal about it, but actually it is not a very big deal. It is just like when you're dreaming. So when you dream, you also forget your waking life and the ego preoccupations of your waking life when you dream. And you become absorbed in this dream avatar, isn't it? And everything you take in the dream very seriously. Suppose someone criticizes you in the dream, then you're very disturbed. And then you wake up. So what was the meaning of that disturbance? It was actually, it had no substance to it. So just as in dream life, so also in waking life. Waking life we take very seriously, but this is also due to our ignorance. This is called dvitiya abhiniveshata. The word dvitiya means absorption, a second. And abhiniveshata means absorption. So you become absorbed in a second thing, that which is not Krishna, that which is not yourself. And then from there, bhayam. Bhayam means you get to be afraid. As you discover, every activity in this material world is inspired by fear. You can analyze your own activities also. You have to be a little honest, of course. But if you analyze your own activities, all action in this world is basically motivated by fear. Ahara nidra bhaya maitunamcha. We say 4 things are common to humans and animals, isn't it? Ahara means eating, nidra means sleeping, maitunam means sex, and bhayam, we usually say defending, right? Bhayam, defending, but bhayam means fear. And then there's this fear that is the predominating feature of conditioned life. So anything that you do in this world is motivated by fear. Think about it. Why do you eat? Why do you walk? Why do you search for relationships? And mostly all motivated by fear. You may give some nice philosophy to give other explanation, but Krishna knows. Bhayam dutiya abhiniveshata sha. It is because of fear. This is the result. This is the regular ignorance. Tamaya yato means this is ignorance. But there's a divine ignorance also. And divine ignorance is there. It is due to the Lord's Yoga Maya Shakti. So Krishna, in the verse I just quoted, it says, Tamaya yato. This is Maya, to be turned away from God, to forget yourself, to identify. This is Tamaya yato means this is Maya. But this means this is Maha Maya. Then there's another type of Maya of Krishna, divine Maya, Yoga Maya. And she also causes divine ignorance. Just as Maha Maya causes not divine ignorance, but substantial ignorance. So divine Maya causes divine ignorance. And that allows one to associate with the personality of Godhead affectionately. Otherwise, you cannot associate so closely with God. It would not be possible. It is just like Krishna is Ananta, he is unlimited. And we are Jiva, we are infinitesimal. Vibhu and Anu, these are the words we often hear. So how can the Anu associate with the Vibhu? He is so small. And the Vibhu, the Supreme Lord, is so great. How is it possible? It's like, I often like to say this, it is like trying to establish a relationship with an ant. How is it possible? Suppose you want to establish, or an ant wants to establish a relationship with you. Is it possible? You cannot establish. Why? Because you are too big and he is too small. It is not possible to establish such a relationship. So how is it possible for the tiny jiva to establish a relationship with the Supreme Lord? So that is the function of divine Maya, or divine ignorance. It eclipses the great majesty of the Supreme Lord and the infinitesimal nature of the jiva, and allows the jiva and the personality of God to associate on intimate terms. And when there's intimate terms out of affection, because the majesty is eclipsed, you may say things as we're hearing here from Mother Devaki. She is afraid, she is just called Krishna as Madhusudana, the killer of demons who are thousands of times more powerful than Kamsa. But she is afraid for his life. How is that possible? That is due to prema, which is eclipsing his majesty, a divine ignorance that makes that possible. Yes. So instead of thinking of the unlimited power of the Lord, she thought of the Lord with affection. And therefore she requested the transcendental child to disappear. It is just like a powerful businessman. He is CEO of some organization. So everyone else fears him because he's the CEO. But when that same CEO goes to his home, then his wife is chastising him, or, whatever, being affectionate. The children, they are also, maybe a small child is there, she or he wants to play with the dad, so he tells his dad, sit down, on all fours. And then the dad goes on all fours and he jumps on the back of the dad. So how is this possible? Because of the affectionate dealing between father and child, which is not there in the workplace. So affection eclipses the glory of an entity in general, as a general principle. So divine Maya has this affection. It's called prema. And out of prema, Devaki is expressing fear for the life of Madhusudana, the killer of demons thousands of times more powerful than Kamsa. So this is there. There's a purport here. This is short purport. So today is also the appearance day of Advaitacharya. I was supposed to say something about that also. So when Krishna makes his appearance in this world, he has what is called as a Bahiranga Vichar and an Antaranga Vichar. Bahiranga Vichar means an external consideration, and Antaranga Vichar means an internal consideration for his appearance. Understand? External and internal reason for coming. So this is mentioned by Kaviraj Goswami and Chaitanya Charitamrita. Prema rasa niryasya karite aswadana rag marg bhakti loke karite prachana. So what is the internal reason and external reason for Krishna appearing in this world? Krishna. So Krishna's internal reason for appearing, Antaranga Vichar, Prema rasa niryasya karite aswadana. So the word aswadana means to taste. So Krishna wanted to taste the prema rasa, the divine love of the residents of Vrindavan Dham. He is called as, for this reason, he is called as Rasika Shekhara. The word Rasika Shekhara means a connoisseur of rasa, Rasika Shekhara. This word connoisseur, I think, is a French word. And I think it means one who is expert at tasting the wine. So they can drink different sorts of wine. By drinking it, 1966, like this, they will say. They're very expert. It's not, I don't imagine it's a very good thing to be expert in, but they have such things. Connoisseur, they call it connoisseur. So Krishna, he is Rasika Shekhara. He is a connoisseur of rasa. By exchanging with his different devotees, he can make out the different elements of their love, and he derives great happiness from that. Just like the ignorant person, when he drinks, wine, he says, "Oh, this is not the 1966," and he becomes disgusted, or, "Oh, this has this extra element. 1966 is like this, but 1967 is like that," and he becomes ecstatic. Well, ecstatic is exactly the proper word to use there. He becomes happy in the material sense. So also Krishna, when he tastes the prema rasa of the Braja associates, then he derives great bliss from that, and he becomes lost in that. This is the meaning of Rasika Shekhara. Because the devotees of Krishna, they don't see the same Krishna. Means they see to our form Krishna is there, but they don't appreciate the same qualities of Krishna. Different bhavas appreciate different qualities of Krishna. So have you ever read this book, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu? You have read this book, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. How many of you have read past chapter 19 of the Nectar Devotion? Anyone here has read past chapter 19? You're probably afraid. Not supposed to go past chapter 19. So,
Can I just ask you to bear in mind that maybe there's only 2 people in here who has English as their original language.
okay.
So just speak a little slower, please.
Oh, okay. I'll try my best. I have a lot of content to cover in a short time, so I'll do the best I can. Plus, I talk fast by nature. So who here has read past chapter 19? Only a few devotees. 1, 2. I have read, but no meaning. Not understanding anything. Okay. So this Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu was primarily composed for the chapters after chapter 19. And that is why it's called Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So his discussion of Bhakti Rasa happens after chapter 19 of Nectar of Devotion. So therein you'll discover that he talks about Krishna, the hero, and his 4 categories of personality types you'll see there. And then he describes the various qualities of Krishna. After doing so, Rupa Goswami goes into the different ratis that you can have for Krishna. Dasa rati, Sakya rati, Vatsalya rati, Madhurya rati. And then he describes in great detail the different qualities in Krishna that these different ratis appreciate in Krishna. So although they're looking at the same Krishna, they don't appreciate the same qualities. Let's say, in other words, some qualities of Krishna are more heightened in their minds than other qualities of Krishna. So the same, the Krishna that the cowherd boys are looking at is quite unique and different from the Krishna that the gopis are looking at, for example. And they appreciate different things about Krishna, different acts of Krishna, different qualities of Krishna, different personality of Krishna. They appreciate differently. And that creates the rasa in them that is different from the rasa of other devotees and their appreciation for Krishna. So Krishna is Rasika Shekhara. He wants to taste the different rasas in these different devotees. What is it in him that they are appreciating? What is the unique flavor of their particular love for Krishna? It is not all one. It's personal. Yayata mam prapadyante tam sataiva bhajami aham. As Krishna says, as you approach me, I reciprocate in kind. Yayata means in kind. So if you approach Krishna as the enemy, like Kamsa did, then he's no problem chopping your head off. He's very expert at that. He doesn't even need a sword. Just like when I first read Krishna book, the pastime that always really stood out to me for some reason, it was kind of shocking, is when Krishna kills a Dobi-wala. He comes into Mathura and he wants some clothes. So he goes to one Dobi-wala. He said, I want to take these clothes. And the Dobi-wala says, those are the clothes of the king. How dare you? And Krishna was like, I have something for that. Immediate liberation. And then he just chops his head off with his hand. He didn't even need a sword. So if you approach Krishna as enemy, then he doesn't mind removing your head also. There are actually many head removals in the Krishna book. And if you approach Krishna as friend, then he becomes a friend. If you approach Krishna as a child, as a parent, then he becomes a child. And if you approach Krishna as the lover, then he becomes the beloved. You understand? So as you approach Krishna, he will reciprocate in kind. Right? So he wants to know, and when I say this verse, I often like to say, how do you want your Krishna? How do you want your Krishna? So you may feel a little bit uncomfortable thinking, well, I am such a neophyte. Okay, so elevate yourself and figure it out. How do you want to approach Krishna? He will reciprocate in kind. If you don't approach him in any specific way, then there will not be any specific reciprocation. Prabhupada writes this in the 10th chapter of the first canto. When criticizing the Mayavadis, he says, because they view the Lord impersonally, the Lord takes no personal interest. And I always love that statement. Because they view the Lord impersonally, the Lord takes no personal interest. So we also approach the Lord impersonally, then why we should expect a personal reciprocation? So impersonally just means, well, really, to be honest with you, impersonally means thinking of yourself as a body and mind, because the body and mind is ultimately an impersonal object, isn't it? It is an object. Objects don't have personalities to them, isn't it? It is an unconscious thing, like the table. Okay, you may say this is expansion of Balaram, but let's be practical here. Table, microphone, these are objects, they don't have personalities. So if you think of yourself as body and mind, it's object ultimately. And then you approach Krishna only as body and mind, then in one sense you're viewing Krishna impersonally. So why you should expect personal reciprocation? So personal reciprocation is possible when you approach Krishna as servant, as friend, as parent, or as lover. Then he will reciprocate in kind. And for those who have achieved Krishna consciousness and its perfection, then he wants to taste what are the different qualities of that different rati. Therefore, he is called as Rasika Shekhara. You understand? So this is the internal reason why Krishna appears. So for this reason, he is called as Rasika Shekhara. Then he has an external reason for appearing also. This is called Bahiranga Vichar. So Bahiranga Vichar means external consideration. External consideration means not materialistic. It means for the benefit of others. So what is Krishna's external consideration for his appearance? He says, Kaviraj Goswami is penning, Rag Marg Bhakti Loke Karite Pracharan. Because Krishna wanted to preach Rag Marg Bhakti. So the word Rag Marg Bhakti means Raganuga Bhakti. So you must have read about this in Nectar Devotion. Who has read Nectar Devotion first 19 chapters? I could good ISKCON devotee. So there in chapter 15, 16, those chapters are referred to as the Raganuga Bhakti. So the Raganuga Bhakti is the sadhana that is preached by Gaudiya Vaishnavism historically. And it is precisely the type of sadhana that is meant to inform the jiva on how to approach Krishna personally, as a servant, as a friend, as a parent, or as a lover. So Krishna's external consideration for appearance is to prachara means to preach. He wanted to propagate this type of bhakti to the people of this world. Rag Marg Bhakti Loke. Loke means people in this world. Karite prachara, to preach this type of bhakti to the people of this world. So after Krishna performed his lila, he considered that he did a very good job in his internal consideration. He was tasting a lot of rasa as the connoisseur that he is. But he felt dissatisfied in accomplishing his external consideration. So this is discussed by Kaviraj Goswami in the 3rd chapter of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. He felt that I did not do a very good job in distributing the rasas of Breja to the people of this world. Chaturdeya means giving 4 rasas. Shanta rasa is discounted, and only 4 are counted. Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, Madhurya. So Krishna is thinking, I did not do a very good job in distributing the Braja rasas to the people of this world. So he decides that I need to return to the material world to again distribute these Braja rasas. So he comes again as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, like Krishna, well, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna. So Krishna is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He has a antaranga vichara and a bahiranga vichara also for appearing in this world. So chapter 3 discusses the bahiranga vichara, external consideration. Chapter 3 of Chaitanya Charitamrita. And chapter 4 discusses the antaranga vichara. So what is the bahiranga vichara of Mahaprabhu? There's 3. There are 3 considerations for his appearance. Do you remember the 3? Or does anyone know the 3 considerations for his appearance? Everyone's going to guess the first one.
Please the devotees.
Huh?
One is please the devotees.
Preach to devotees.
Please
the devotees. Not quite. Of course, that is intrinsic to his personality. So that is, it's like one of those general answers you give. Like, what's the goal of life? Krishna. That subsumes everything. So you get it right. Kill the demons. Well, Mahaprabhu doesn't want to kill the demons. What are the 3 external considerations for Mahaprabhu's appearance?
And one is because Advaitacharya called him.
Yes. So we'll get to that one last. Advaitacharya is called. That's why I'm bringing this point up. But what are the other 2 considerations of Mahaprabhu? To save the Jagais and Madhais. Incorrect. That was an incidental thing that happens. He saves the Jagais and Madhais. Of course, in one sense that is correct also. These broad answers. Bahiranga Vichar. Anyone know Chaitanya Charitamrita? You've been to so many Gaur Purnimas. You must have heard millions of times because this is the only thing they talk on Gaur Purnima. What is the external consideration? First reason for Mahaprabhu's appearance is to, I have already given an answer, to distribute the Braja Rasas. To distribute love of God. Love of God is generic term. He wants to distribute Dasya Rasa, Sakya Rasa, Vatsalya Rasa, Madhurya Rasa. This is the first reason. So in order to do that, it takes the role of the Yuga Avatar. So Krishna is not Yuga Avatar. He is Krishna. The Yuga Avatar usually forms of Vishnu. And they inaugurate the Yuga Dharma. So the Yuga Dharma is called as Harinam Sankirtan, right? So the Yuga Avatar propagates the Yuga Dharma. So usually because they are Vishnu, their propagation of the holy name of Krishna does not have power to give Krishna Prema. If you take birth in other yugas, Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, or other Kali Yugas, where Krishna is not making his appearance, then that Yuga Avatar is Vishnu form, and you chant the holy name of Krishna, but you cannot get Krishna Prema from that chanting. So Krishna, his main external consideration for coming is to distribute the Braja Rasas. So in order to do that, he tells the Yuga Avatar, come here. And as you know, all the avatars come inside the form of Krishna. And he assumes the role of the Yuga Avatar and distributes the holy name of Krishna. He inaugurates the Yuga Dharma. But the Yuga Dharma is Harinam Sankirtan, Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. But the Maha Mantra in the age of Kali that is distributed by Krishna himself is extra powerful. As it is described in chapter 4 of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishna wove a wreath of the holy name and Krishna Prema. And he made like a garland. And then he gave it to the jivas of this world. So through chanting Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, one can develop Krishna Prema. So this is the second reason for his appearance. To accomplish his first reason, to distribute Braj Bhakti, he assumes the role of the Yuga Avatar and woves a wreath of the holy name and Braj Prem, and then gives it to the Jiva. Chant Hare Krishna, so that you can get Krishna Prema. Chant Hare Krishna in the mood of the residents of Braja, and you will get Krishna Prema. The second reason. And then the third reason is because Advaitacharya calls for him. So this is why I give this thing. This is the first encounter with Advaitacharya in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. It comes at the end of chapter 3. So Advaitacharya, when Krishna makes his appearance, all his elders appear before him. So similarly, when Krishna comes as Mahaprabhu, all his elders come first, such as Sachimata, Jagannatha Mishra, and Haridas Thakur, and then also Advaitacharya. So when Advaitacharya appeared before Mahaprabhu, He is very close to the jivas in this world. So he can see that they were having no interest in Krishna consciousness. And this is in India, so he was very disappointed to see that there is no interest in Krishna. And because of this lack of interest in Krishna consciousness, they are suffering. So you may wonder why you suffer, but usually you give many purports to your suffering. I'm suffering because I haven't figured out my psychophysical nature. Most common analysis of the devotees. Unless I figure out my psychophysical nature, then I can't be happy. There are so many people who have figured out their psychophysical nature and they're still not happy. The root reason for suffering is because of not being Krishna conscious. I'm suffering because so-and-so said this about me in front of all the other devotees. What is your reason for suffering? You give many reasons. Of course, when you're in class, you say, because I'm not Krishna conscious, but outside of class, in your heart, or you're thinking. So Advaita Acharya could see these jivas are suffering because they're not Krishna conscious. So he begins preaching Krishna Bhakti and Krishna Nam to the people of Navadvip particularly. Navadvip was particularly materialistic because everyone there was scholar. So when you're very, very intelligent, you think you got one up on everyone and you're very proud. No one wants to hear. So even the people of Navadvip, in fact, they were so materialistic that Mahaprabhu himself left Navadvip to preach Krishna consciousness. He also couldn't deal with these people. And later on he sent Nityananda back, you go and preach to these people. These people are so arrogant, I don't want to say I can't stand them, but it was something close to that. You can read about this in the Madhya Lila of Chaitanya Charitamrita. So, Advaita Acharya is very close to the suffering jivas, and therefore he's able to sympathize. Krishna, on the other hand, is not able to sympathize so much, what to speak of empathize, with the plight of the conditioned jivas. Because his world revolves around Srimati Radharani and the Brijbasis. So how is it possible to sympathize with the plight of the conditioned souls when your world is preoccupied with something extremely blissful? You understand? Can darkness approach light? Is it possible for darkness to approach light? It is not at all possible. So also, the suffering of the conditioned souls cannot approach Krishna because he is preoccupied with the condensed bliss of the Braja Lila. You understand? So in one sense, he doesn't have any compassion for the jivas. In one sense. That's a little controversial. You may feel a little discomfort to hear that. But in one sense, because in order to have mercy for the other jivas, particularly to empathize with their plight, you have to understand what they're going through. Otherwise, how is there empathy? If you've never experienced suffering, how you will be able to empathize with the plight of someone who is actually suffering? As Narada Muni says to Manu in the Nalakuveda Manigriva Lila, unless you have been pinpricked yourself, you don't understand someone who's stepping on a pin. You understand? So Krishna is preoccupied with this blissful world. How is it possible for him to feel compassion for these conditioned souls? Krishna himself says in Gita, Samoham sarvabhuteshu name dveshosti napriya. So he says, of the jivas of this world, Samoham sarvabhuteshu means I see everyone in this world with the equal eye. Samoham sarvabhuteshu nandveshosti napriya. I don't envy them, nor do I favor them. I'm just neutral. And that's how the conditioned souls are able to continue suffering in this world without anything happening. Sometimes I have an image when I first heard this verse with Paramatma, just seeing the jivas in hell, like, you've heard about all the different hells in 5th canto, chapter 26. See all the jivas like screaming and suffering, and the Paramatma's just like, I can't really do it, but because it's too funny. But you can imagine, Paramatma is everywhere. He is seen. He is upadrashta, anumantacha. He is the seer of everything. So so many jivas in hell. You drank too much alcohol in your human life, so they poured like the molten thing down your throat. Open up. And the Paramatma was just like. I can't do it because it's too funny. He is neutral. Otherwise, how can you see something like that and not do anything? Because of his neutrality. Ye bhajanti tumam bhaktya. But if one does my bhakti, he worships me with devotion. The word tu means but. Ye bhajanti tumam bhaktya. But So I always like to bring up this point. Whenever you say but, that means whatever comes out of the but is really in your heart. That was a good kirtan, but immediately you become on guard. That prashadam, it was good, but like this, whatever comes out of the but cancels out whatever came before the but. So Krishna said he is neutral, but anyone who performs my worship with bhakti, then I am in him and they are in me. Mayiteshu chapyaha. Because I am in them because of attachment to them, and they are in me because of attachment to me. So bhakti is the only thing that can capture the heart of Krishna. The suffering does not capture the heart of Krishna. Therefore, when what was this? Gajendra, Jiva Goswami particularly brings this point on. Gajendra was suffering, right? He was attacked by the crocodile, and he was suffering. Did Vishnu come that time? He did not come that time. Vishnu must have certainly been sane because he is Upadrashta, so he saw that also. But he did not come. And then when Gajendra offered flower and prayers, then he appeared in response to his bhakti, not in response to his suffering. That's why I often tell devotees that if you're suffering, the secret is to do bhakti, because your suffering will not be good enough to get the attention of the Lord. Of course, the bhakti gets his attention. So the Lord is preoccupied in his own world, and he is only concerned with his devotees in the spiritual world, and also his devotees in the material world. He is also concerned about them. But the rest of the jivas who are without bhakti, he is not against them and he is not for them. He is neutral. But Advaita Charya is a devotee. Well, anyway, this is chapter 3. This is our first encounter with Advaita Charya. He is a devotee, and he is seeing the plight of the conditioned souls. And he is not thinking of their suffering in terms of, oh, they broke up with someone, therefore they are suffering. No, they're seeing that they are without Krishna consciousness. And therefore, because he is so close to their suffering, then he is able to sympathize with their plight. And he knows that Supreme Lord Krishna will not be able to have the same degree of sympathy or empathy because he is not close to their suffering. Neither is he close physically, neither is he close consciously, because he is absorbed in another world as Rasika Shekhara in the spiritual world. Therefore, in order to benefit these jivas, Advaita Charya said only Krishna can benefit these jivas, and he will not feel inspired by himself to benefit them. Therefore, he began to call out to the Supreme Lord very loudly. He thought how to summon the Supreme Lord to this world, so he began worshipping Shalagram Shila with Tosi and Ganga water. There's some verse quoted that says that the Lord becomes captured by anyone who worships him with Tosi and Ganga water. That's like amazingly encouraging. And he begins to worship in this way. He begins to loudly call for the descent of the Supreme Lord. And because of this loud crying of Advaita Charya, for this reason, and Kaviraj Goswami says this is the mukhya, the primary, mukhya hetu, the primary reason for the Lord appearing in this world as Mahaprabhu is because Advaita Charya loudly called for him. And then Kaviraj Goswami quotes a very beautiful verse in this regard. Tvam bhakti yoga paribhavita hrit saroja ase shrutekshi tapata nanunata pumsa. The second line is a significant part. Ya yadiyata urughaya vibhavayanti tat tat vapu prananyase staranugrahaya. So this verse is a very nice verse. This verse says the Supreme Lord will come and sit on the lotus heart. Tvam bhakti yoga paribhavita hrit saroja. Hrit saroja means the lotus of the heart. Ase. The Lord will come and sit on that heart. But what heart? Any heart? No. The heart that is infused with bhakti yoga. Tvam bhakti yoga paribhavita. Paribhavita means like a infusion, a Krishna conscious infusion. The term Krishna consciousness comes from Srila Prabhupada's this statement, Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavitamati. You know this statement of, anyway, Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavitamati. So the word Bhavita means like an ingress or infusion of Bhakti Yoga, which means prema. So the Lord will come and sit on that heart, not any heart. Just like sometimes we joke that you go to a friend's house and it's like real nasty, and he's like, yeah, he like moves the dirty clothes over. Yeah, you can sit there. You're like, I'll stand. So similarly, we try to invite the Lord in the heart, but the heart is very dirty. So he's like, there ain't nowhere to sit here. I'm going to go back to the spiritual world. Call me when you're ready. Bhakti Yoga Paribhavita Hitsaroja. So if the heart becomes infused with actual Bhakti Yoga, Krishna Conscious, Krishna Prema, then the Lord will come and sit in the heart. So how did you get that Krishna Conscious infusion? Shruta Ikshita Pata. Shruta Ikshita Pata. Pata means the path. Prabhupada translates it as a path of seeing through hearing. In other words, first you hear Shruta, you hear from Guru about Krishna and Krishna Bhakti. And then you begin to do bhajan. And from your bhajan, Ikshita, you begin to see Krishna. Or see means experience Krishna. So the path of first hearing and then experiencing Krishna. That is how this Bhakti Yoga Paribhavita was made possible. So what form will Krishna appear before you? Yadya ta urugaya vibhavayanti. Again, same idea. Yadya means according to your meditation, there will be realization. Yadya, as you are meditating, tat vapu, then that form will come before you. Tat vapu pranayase saranugrahaya, to show mercy to you. Again, same as the idea yayatamam prapadinte. As you approach, then Krishna responds accordingly. So Advaita Acharya is called for Krishna. So Krishna came as Mahaprabhu. Yadya ta urugaya. This verse was quoted by Kaviraj Goswami. And he says, after quoting this verse, he says the purport of this verse is that the reason that there are so many forms of the Lord is because there are so many desires of devotees who are calling for Krishna in a very specific way. He says that is the purport of this verse. So yadya ta urugaya vibhavayanti. When Advaita Acharya called for Krishna in a very specific way, yadya, then Krishna responded and he appeared as Mahaprabhu. And this is the primary reason for the appearance of Advaita Acharya. So that's very nice. Advaita Acharya was next encountered in chapter 6 of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. I will speak only a little bit more here. Chapter 6, and there it is described how Advaita Acharya is a form of Mahavishnu who has appeared in this particular world. Although he is an avatar, he has devotion for Krishna. So how is this possible? He is the Supreme Lord himself, but he is an avatar. He is the Lord himself, but he is also a devotee of the Lord. So you may recall in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, who here has read Chaitanya Charitamrita? Anyone has read here? One person. And uncomfortable, two persons. CC, Chaitanya Charitamrita? Yes. So, no one else read Chaitanya Charitamrita? Okay, 3 people. Jaya. So you can read Chaitanya Charitamrita. Prabhupada writes in the Chaitanya Charitamrita that all the devotees of the Krishna Consciousness movement must read all the books that have been translated, including Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and Chaitanya Charitamrita. Otherwise, you will simply sleep, eat, and fall down from your position. That's the first sentence, really inspiring. And the second sentence, and in this way, you'll be unable to attain a transcendental position in the spiritual world. Jai. So, encouragement to read Chaitanya Charitamrita also. So there, the Chaitanya Charitamrita opens up with a verse describing Mahaprabhu as the absolute truth, one divinity with 6 features. So the divinity is known as Krishna Chaitanya Samgikam. He is Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And there are 6 principles there. Vande Gurum Isha Bhaktam. There's the Guru principle, the Bhakta principle. Then, what is the next one? Isha, the principle of God. Wow, forgetfulness is deep. And then Ishava Tarakam, the principle of the avatar. Tat Prakasham, the principle of the Prakasha means manifestation. And then Tat Shakti, the principle of Shakti. So 6 principles, 1 truth, 6 features. So when this, in the subsequent chapters of the CC Adi Lila, they're describing one of these 6 features. So when describing the avatar feature, the discussion is on Advaita Acharya. He is called as Bhakta Avatar. This is a concept unique to Krishna Consciousness movement. So Advaita Acharya is Mahavishnu, so he is an avatar. All the avatars of the spiritual world, they come into this world through the doorway of Mahavishnu, or Garbhodakshay Vishnu, Mahavishnu. So he is avatar, but he is a devotee of Krishna also. So how is it possible that he is God himself, but he is also God's devotee? So that is described very elaborately, but I don't have time to go through all the details. It's a big chapter. Chapter 6 you can read today for Advaita Acharya. But there it is described, he is a devotee because all the forms of Godhead, they know that the devotees are more dear to Krishna than his own self. So Krishna is the quality of Bhagavan actually exists in Krishna. And the other forms of Bhagavan, they derive their quality of being God from Krishna. That is Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy. That's a very controversial point. If you bring this point up in India, you're going to fight with a lot of people. So be careful. Don't bring this. And then if you throw Chaitanya Mahaprabhu on top of that, then you're going to really fight. They don't really appreciate this at all. But Gaudiya Vaishnava Siddhanta is that the quality of being Bhagavan, Bhagavata means the quality of being Bhagavan. It exists in Krishna. He is a reservoir of all pleasure. He's also the reservoir of the Godhead. And the quality of being Bhagavan is derived, the quality of being Bhagavan and other avatars is derived from Krishna. So he's the form of all the Godhead. So, what point was, yeah, so Bhakta avatar. So they are forms of the Godhead, but they are also devotees of God. And since the quality of God derives from him, there's one thing that is interesting about Krishna, is that he finds his devotees to be more dear than his own self. So this verse is quoted, it's a very nice verse that Krishna speaks to Uddhava. Natata priyatama atma yonir na shankara. So Krishna says, Nacha sankarshana na shrir na vaitmana cha yatabhavan. So Krishna says, he's speaking to Uddhava, this particular verse. He says that Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, Lord Sankarsana, means his brother Balaram, or it means Sankarsana, not today. And even Goddess Shri, and even my own self. Natata me priyatama is not as dear to me as you are. He's saying this to Uddhava, representing the Akinchan Bhakta. So the devotee is more dear to Krishna than his own self. So the avatars of the Supreme Lord, they know this about the position of the devotee. So they derive to experience the position of a devotee. And so they descend into this world as bhaktas, so they can experience what it's like to be a bhakta of Krishna and experience the love and exalted nature of that. Such a position is called as bhakta avatar. And Advaita Acharya is you can say, the first of this category of entities, Bhakta Avatar. So we worship, well, from this we understand the principle, we understand what it means to be a devotee of Krishna. The position of devotees is so rare and so exalted that the avatars of the Lord themselves, they want to become devotees. And of course that desire itself is rooted in Krishna, who also himself wants to become his own devotee, Srimati Radharani. And so Advaita Acharya's Parents' Day is a reminder of this, of what it means to be a devotee, and what is the position of a devotee, and what opportunity one has to associate with such devotees of the Lord. Rupa Goswami says, what is that? Upadeshamrita, text 6. Drishta svabhavaya janitar, Drishta svabhava janitar, Vapushat chadoshaya. Napakritatvam iha bhakta janasya pasha. This verse. Don't look at the devotees from the material point of view. Drishta, the swabhava janitar and their vapu. Swabhava janitar means their personality. Sometimes when you live with people that like smack when they chew their food, or they snore, or they talk loud. There are different idiosyncrasies of devotees that irritate you. Isn't it? Isn't it? Isn't it? You're not supposed to give consideration to that. Drishta svabhava janitar. And their vapu means their physical body. Napakritatvam iha bhakta jana. Don't take that into consideration. But rather you have to see how they are Krishna's devotee. And Advaita Acharya's Parents' Day is a reminder, because he is Bhakta Avatar. So it is a reminder that the avatars themselves, they are Godhead themselves, and they want to become devotees. So what is the position of a devotee? So you may say, but those are the pure devotees. That's immediately what comes to mind. But these neophytes I'm around, that doesn't really extend to them. That's what you're thinking. I'm thinking that. So, Atmavamanya Tejaka, I think everyone thinks like me. So you may say like that, but there's a very nice verse, and I'll end with this particular verse. First Canto, chapter 18, verse 18. How does that start? Tulayama lavenapi na swarpa na punar bhavam. Bhagavat sangi sangasya martanam kemutashisha. So this verse is Shonaka Rishi. He's glorifying Sutta Goswami. How you are so kindly speaking in Srimad Bhagavatam to us. So he says his word, Tulayama lavenapi, even a moment's association of a Bhagavat Sangi. Bhagavat Sangi means one who has captured Krishna. It's called Bhagavat Sangi. Even a moment's association with such a devotee, na swargam na punarbhavam, cannot be compared to the attainment of swarga or the attainment of liberation. So swarga is the goal of karma, and liberation is the goal of Gyan path. So they're saying the goals of those paths cannot be compared to even a moment's association with a sadhu who is Bhagavat Sangi. Martyanam kimutashisha. What to speak of these people who are going after sense objects? They're all useless. So then Sri Vishwanath offers very nice commentary there. He says that this verse refers to, or extends to, a sadhaka. He says that even the moment's association of a sadhaka cannot be compared to the full goal of the path of karma and Gyan. What to speak of long association with the sadhaka. What to speak of association with a bhavuka, one who has bhava. And then what then to speak of the association of one who has prema. Even a moment's association. So Advaita Acharya's appearance day allows us to meditate on this idea. What is the exalted nature of serving Krishna? What is the exalted nature of those who are serving Krishna? Even in the smallest way, as sadhakas who are struggling. One is very fortunate to have their association. So we'll stop there, and we've mentioned a lot of ideas here today. Hariyam Tat Sat, thanks a lot. Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jaya. Does anyone want to ask anything? Yes.
Thank you for the excellent class. So I understood that Sri Advaita is an incarnation of Mahavishnu.
Yeah.
But in the Chaitanya Mangala from Lochin, I read that Sri Advaita is not different from Lord Shiva.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lord Sadashiva, first of all. So when Mahavishnu glances on the material energy, I spared us the technicalities of this. You read this also in chapter 6, Chaitanya Charitamrita. So the Mahavishnu creates the world by glancing on the material energy, pradhan. So that glance of Mahavishnu is called Sadashiva. That is why sometimes Sadashiva is also called as the father of the universe. He is in a very unique position. He is not Vishnu, but he is not Jiva. He has his own tattva, Shiva tattva. So Shiva tattva refers to Sadashiva. So when he glances when Mahavishnu glances on Pradhan, that glance takes the form of Sadashiva. So it is Sadashiva who has actual contact with the material energy, we say like this, not Mahavishnu himself, who remains ever aloof. So this Sadashiva is non-different from Mahavishnu. He is a glance of Mahavishnu. So I don't know the technicalities of how Chaitanya Mangala explains this. I'll have to go back and see, so I don't know. But there's a similarity there, or the sameness in form.
He doesn't give an explanation. Just mention.
Just throws it in there and then says, take that.
Not different from Shiva. I was surprised
Yeah.
because I thought Sri Advaita is an incarnation of Vishnu.
Yes, Kaviraj Goswami is mentioning clearly this idea in his Mangal Charan to Chaitanya Charitamrita. But Sadashiva is the glance of Mahavishnu. So there may be some relationship. I would have to research that. In any case, he's exalted.
Yeah, there's also a deity in Vrindavan.
Yes.
Half
Yes.
Vishnu and half
And it's
Shiva.
called Haridev, yes. Beautiful deity, right? Yes. Yes.
One task that I understood, according to what you said, that actually our relationship with Krishna, what kind of relationship we will have, and rasa, in the end, it depends on us. Or I misunderstood.
No, you didn't misunderstand.
So I'm the one who is choosing.
Well, you don't exactly choose. The way it generally works is that contact with bhakti happens because of contact with the devotee, right? Or you can say bhakti comes from bhakti. So the contact with bhakti comes from devotional service. And as this is described very nicely or clearly, you can read in the first chapter of Madhura Kandambini, or you can study commentary to 126. Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he also writes this commentary in 126 Bhagavatam, famous verse. So bhakti has 9 stages. Adhal Shraddha, or technically 10, but Adhal Shraddha, Tata Sadhu Sangha, right? Tata Bhajana Kriya, Anartha Nivritti, and so on. So this is 9 stages of bhakti. So Sadhu Sangha is one of the stages of bhakti. Technically it's 2, but anyway, in that list. So our contact with bhakti comes because of association with bhaktas. Krishna Bhakti Janma Mula Haya Sadhu Sangha. The root cause of Krishna Bhakti is Sadhu Sangha. This Mahaprabhu was telling us to Sanatana Goswami. So the sadhus you contact, they have their relationship to Krishna. They either have Krishna Bhakti, or they have Ram Bhakti, or they have Narayan Bhakti. Do you think if you had contacted a Sri Vaishnava devotee, you will be as much into Krishna Bhakti as you are now? Probably you will be into Ram Bhakti or Narayanam, because that is the deity of the Sampradaya. So the devotee not only gives devotion, but he gives devotion to the deity of the heart. That deity is usually the deity of the tradition. So therefore, Gaudiya Vaishnavas, we are devoted to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Krishna. And we're the only family, we're the only group of devotees that accepts Mahaprabhu's divinity as Krishna himself. How is it that we come to accept that? Because of our contact with a Gaudiya Vaishnava. So our contact with bhakti comes because of contact with a bhakta. And what are they giving? They're giving everything. What is that verse? Nama Shesha Nomi. This verse is there, composed by Raghunath Das Goswami. I have to learn it now, I forgot it. They're giving everything to us. Brahmanda Brahmite Kona, Bhagavan Jiva, this verse you're knowing. Guru Krishna Prasade Pai, Bhakti Lata Bija. So they're giving the Bhakti Lata Bija. So what is within that Bhakti Lata Bija? It is a conception of divinity. It is a conception of devotion to that divinity. It is a conception of the form of that divinity. Everything is being given. Nam, Rup, Guna, Lila, that is all being distributed to us by Bhakta. So you don't choose your relationship, really, because it is gifted to you by Krishna's devotee. You understand? So it is not that you choose, but rather it is gifted to you. So the type of attraction you have to Krishna consciousness is also gifted by devotee. So generally speaking, devotees in Krishna consciousness movement, they are attracted to Krishna or a particular mellow Krishna because of the type of sangha that they have. This is ultimately the meaning of Sajatiya Sangha. Sajatiya Sangha means like-minded association, right? What is that verse? Srimad Bhagavatam Artanam Aswado Rasaki Saha Sajatiya Ashayeshnigde Sadho Sangha Tatovare. So Rupa Goswami is writing this verse in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. He says you should do sadhu sangha. So what does sadhu sangha mean? Let's go and see some movie together. No. Sadhu sangha is Srimad Bhagavatam Artanam Aswado. To taste the meanings of the Srimad Bhagavatam. That is the root of the sadhu sangha is there. So that's the first thing. Rasaki Sahad means they are connoisseurs of the Bhagavat. They're really into it. And Sajatiya. Sajati means they are like-minded. So like-minded means they're in the family. Part of the Sajati means they're the same family. So in a generic sense, it can mean just like they're in ISKCON, or they're devotees of Krishna, or somehow our minds kind of match. I can understand how they communicate, they can understand how I communicate. This is a sort of lower level of Sajati, like-minded. But ultimately, like-minded means attraction to Krishna is similar. So they like to talk about the same types of things within Krishna consciousness. This is called Sajatiya Sangha. And Snigdha means they're affectionate. Sadhu Sangha Tatovare. So according to Sadhu Sangha you contact, everything is being given to you. Even your attraction to Krishna consciousness. And that attraction to Krishna consciousness is like a seed. So then Mahaprabhu says you have to take that seed and you have to grow it. So, and we grow it by Shravanadi Jala, by the water of Shravan Kirtan. So the Nam part we normally do very nicely. But the Shravan part is also part of the watering process. And that Shravanam has different layers to it also. So first we hear Maya Tattva, that is so important for us. But we're not expected to stay on that Tattva only and forever. There are so many other Tattvas to be heard. And these other Tattvas also help to nourish that seed of attraction that was gifted to you at the beginning. And you may not be able to recognize it at a certain level of development. As you grow your seed, it starts to become more apparent to you how that attraction was also gifted in the beginning. And then you're supposed to take shelter of the water of Shravana to grow that seed more in terms of the sambandha with Krishna, Krishna sambandha. So it may feel like you are doing it, but actually it's all been gifted in the beginning. And if you continue to take shelter of bhakti in the form of Shravan and Kirtan, then that seed will grow more and more and more and becomes clear, that relationship, that rati, ultimately the rasa. So I think I circumvented a disastrous, potentially dangerous situation. Any other final thoughts? 3 minutes left. Anyone else wants to say anything? Before? Yes.
Towards the end, you were talking about how Untitled Chapter, he saw that the suffering of the conditioned souls was solely because of their lack of Krishna consciousness. And I was thinking, when you said that, how we take many innovations in our preaching to connect with people, and a lot of the time it's quite some time before we even bring up the concept of relationship with God. And we've seen expert preachers do it in such a way. So I'm wondering, Advaita Chari was obviously a great devotee, and so how much of our own bhakti marg, our path on advancement, is dependent on how close we remain to the actual concept of our relationship with Krishna being our ultimate need in our preaching.
Of course, that is everything. There's no question of giving someone $10 unless you have at least 10. Have to have at least $10. And ideally, you want to have more than $10. Otherwise, you have $10 and then you give $10 and you finish. So that happens to so many preachers. They have a little bit of Krishna consciousness and then they preach to save the jhana conditioned souls. And then, a month later they realize they also, what happened? So that means if you're going to give $10, you should have at least $100. That way $10 doesn't hit you so much. Otherwise, how you will help? Ultimately, Krishna Shakti Vina Nahe Tadar Pavartan, Kali Kalera Nama Krishna, Kali Kalera Nama, Krishna Nama Sankirtan. So if you want to spread Krishna consciousness to others, you have to be imbued with Krishna Shakti. So Krishna Shakti means Bhakti Shakti. It means, in Prabhupada's own words in chapter 7, the Madhya Lila, it means Bhav Bhakti. But we're not going to make that a standard or anything. But the idea is that you have to be profoundly connected to Krishna if you want to ultimately bring people to Krishna. Now, at sadhakas, we have 2 levels of bhakti practice, Anishtita Bhajan Kriya, Anishtita Bhajan Kriya. So when Sri Vishwanath discusses Anishtita Bhajan Kriya, the unsteady practice, so he mentions 6 obstacles that marks us as Anishtita sadhakas. And the last of those 6 is called Taranga Rangini. Taranga Rangini means riding the waves of bhakti. Surf. I get this image of surfing. You're just like, I'm cruising. What happens is if you do bhakti yoga and you're making some advancement, you become attractive to everyone. That's a fact. I personally experienced that. It's a fact. You become attractive even to the non-devotees. As Krishna says, Sarva Bhutatma Bhutatma, is speaking of the karma yogi also. Because they have no tendency for exploitation, all the jivas start to get attracted to them. He finds all jivas dear, and he is also dear to all jivas. So if you do nicely advancement on bhakti yoga, then you become attractive. And people want to worship you, they want to give you money, they want to give you facility. Like this, they will do that. And if you are a Nishita Bhakta, so even if you are a Nishita Bhakta, this happens. You become attractive. Even to non-devotees, you become attractive. You start riding waves with the bhakti yoga. And then one big wave comes. You're not expert yet at surfing. And that big wave comes and floors you. It's called, so that happens sometimes that sadhakas, we make serious advancement and we become attractive. And we start getting facility, we start getting position, people like to hear what we say, which is like one of the most exalted feelings you can have as a conditioned soul. The conditioned souls are listening to me. And you become attached to those things, and then they pull you out, or they drag you down. So that happens to a lot of preachers. They've not really made it over the hump of Nartana Vritti yet. Nartana Vritti means, Prabhupada says, means at least 75%. Nashra Prayeshu Abhadreshu, we are reciting this verse before the Bhagavatam many times. Nashra Prayeshu Abhadreshu. Abhadreshu means anarthas. Almost all destroyed. So Prabhupada said almost means 75%. In one lecture he says that. He said about 75%. How am I supposed to measure that? So we haven't made it over the hump of Nartana Vritti to Nishita Bhakti, fixed Bhakti. So we're in a little bit of a dangerous situation. So dangerous means that if you happen to become attractive because of Bhakti Yoga, and then you get attached to that. And attachment doesn't work like it's obvious. That's why it's called attachment. It's not like you see it happening. You know, sometimes you think like Maya's going to come to you in the form of like a naked object or something, and like I'll be ready for it. No, it comes as like the sidelong glance first, and a little giggle here, a little giggle there, and then before you know it, what happened? So someone first, listens to your katha, they like your katha, and they become disciple, basically. Acolyte. They become an acolyte. And then you have 1, you have 2, you have 10, you have 20. You have so many followers on your Instagram or Facebook. And you see that the way you got them was not by preaching Krishna consciousness directly, but that was in your heart. But you first have to bring them over. So you do that thing first, but then you become known as that only. And it becomes hard to switch it up at that time. It's like a bait and switch, And our book distributors were very expert at that. Yeah, give what you can. Someone pulls out like a 50, like, thank you. These stories are like that. So you built a persona around yourself as this sort of person, and you preach these sorts of things. So people see you only as that. That is okay, no problem. In your heart, you were devotee of Krishna, you were trying to pull them. But as a result of creating more and more stuff to preach to these people, you neglect to yourself improve. I personally observed this, personally and vicariously, how if you don't take the time to grow deeper, because you can always speak the same points to the lowest common denominator, because they're not elevated. Even the basic mode of goodness idea is very inspiring for them. So then you just start speaking only that thing, you remain in that range, which is still within the range of the gunas of nature. And then you build following, and then finally you forget Krishna. Of course the japa is going on, but while you're doing japa, you're thinking about how to create content for everyone else. And then, so that becomes a disaster. So the idea is that if you want to give $10, better you have 100. Or better you have 110. So you give 10 and you land on 100. And that is a safe position. We are also Prabhupada's followers. So we have a responsibility to preach Krishna consciousness also. So that always will be putting some tension in us as Prabhupada's followers. We don't want to be wholly negligent of that side of Prabhupada's movement also. We want to become deeper devotees, that is absolutely necessary for service. But also we have to serve in a way that will be pleasing to Prabhupada, so this element always becomes there. But yeah, you have to be very prudent about that, otherwise, bye-bye bhakta. Thank you all very much for tolerating. Oh, you want to say something final?
No, I'll ask one question if it's possible.
Well, the devotees have to give blessings, otherwise they're going to curse me. You class, go
Can I
ahead.
ask one more question? I wanted to ask if you can briefly explain the Mishnah platform.
Briefly.
Just
So, in short, in the Madhurya Kandamini, you studied this book, Madhurya Kandamini, you've seen it?
yeah, but I
Don't
my
remember.
memory is
So in chapter 5, deals with Nishta Bhakti, I think chapter 5. So he says that Nishta Bhakti is attained when your bhakti practice is devoid of 5 obstacles. But I don't remember what the 5 obstacles are, all of them. Do I have it? Yeah. I can pull it out. When your bhakti is devoid of, first obstacle is, I don't remember actually, it's been a while since I looked at this. This would be, you said to describe it briefly, so this would be the best definition of briefly. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. I don't think I have the Wi-Fi here. So one of them is rasaswada. So rasaswada means that you're devoid of desire for sense gratification when you're doing your bhakti. I think I don't remember. Give me a second here. Oh wait, my computer doesn't have. You guys don't mind waiting 2 seconds? I'll just look it up quickly. Any else remember this thing? No. Okay. Y'all can chant Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. You know how in the old videos, when Prabhupada would like pause for a second, all the way, Hare Rama, until Prabhupada started speaking again. Jaya, yes. Okay, my phone is too slow. I will have to get back to you on this particular one. Otherwise, you can take this verse, Nasha Prayesha Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatutam Ashloke Bhaktir Bhavati Neshiki. If you every day do Nityam Bhagavat Seva, which means service to the book in person Bhagavatam, and when all the anarthas are almost completely destroyed, then you attain Naishtika Bhakti. So this verse, Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur wants to analyze. So he mentions there are 5 indicators that show that one has attained this. Your bhajan is devoid of the 6 obstacles that are there in Anishita Bhajan Kriya. Then there are 5 things, but I don't remember them. I think one of them is not sleeping.
really.
Yeah, during bhajan. One of them is not sleeping during bhajan. Another is your bhajan is devoid of apathy when practiced. These are obstacles that you face. Maybe the first 2 are distraction, apathy, and sleep. And then there are 2 others, but I don't remember precisely, so it's right now it just sounds like a mental speculation to me. Apologies. I gotta teach this book again. Only when you teach these things you can remember nicely. Prabhupada writes this in the 116 Bhagavatam. He says, you could advance by, he says hearing and chanting is more important than reading. And then he says hearing from the devotee is called Shravana, and explaining is called Kirtana. And he says only by hearing and explaining can you actually capture the message. So I haven't explained this in a while, because I haven't taught Madhurya Kandamini in a long time. So I have to get back to you on this particular idea, if you don't mind. So I thank you all very much for tolerating me for so long. Hari Om Tat Sat, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jaya. this, the most confident traditionally spoken in this kind of devotees. So devotees need more in-reach programs. So we don't have that so much as this compared to we're too strong and extended we always like say our goal is for education. So we're gonna have serious that's what it is. 50 years later. Now I can criticism, now I can
Like as far as the standard of what understanding of philosophy means, in context of other Vaishnava sampradayas.
we got the gist of things. It is.